Hi and welcome to a new tech stuff episode on my channel. Today I'm gonna talk about the Eachine Tx801 video transmitter for race drones. I'm gonna show you all the features, and what I wanna do especially is to compare it with the Eachine Tx526 because there are some changes, some improvements. I just wanna go through all the changes because both of them are still available, but in my opinion the 801, which is this one here, is really more interesting than the older TX526. The shop where you can get it, it's Banggood. Both are around the same price, sometimes a little bit more expensive, then a little bit less expensive. They are around $13 up to $17. Depends on, I don't know what exactly, but Banggood is changing the prices all the time. So, but anyways, they are pretty cheap. Here you can see the specs of both of these VTX, and I just want to go through some specs a little bit deeper, but this is just an overview to compare the two VTXs. Before we start with comparison and the features, details, you perhaps wondered why there is no sticker on it. The reason is pretty simple. These VTXs are getting hot during usage. What I try is to keep them as cool as possible. I always cut off the shrink tube over the cooling plate and take off the sticker. So they will be a few degrees cooler like this. I don't know if they live longer, but I try everything to keep them as cool as possible because the picture will be better if you keep it as cool as possible. Now let's have a look how the VTX comes. If you order one, you have the VTX itself, then you have some cables to connect it to your battery. This is from 7 to 24 volts, and then on the other side you have the yellow cable which comes from the FPV cam, and blue and red cable are for power for the FPV cam. It's a 5 volt out which comes from the VTX, but I highly recommend to not use the power out from the VTX to your FPV cam, because my experience is that you have way better FPV picture on your goggles if you go with this 5 volt out to your FPV cam. What you should wire is this one from back. You can go from 7 to 24 volts, so you can use, for example, a 9 or a 12 volt back. Pololu step down is a possibility, or if you have a back on your FC, then you can go from this to power your VTX, and really highly recommended to use a separate back which powers your FPV cam, which regularly goes from 5 also up to 24 volts, and like this you will get a way better picture than using this 5 volt power output to your FPV cam. What is also always coming with the VTX is this standard antenna, but I don't know why they always put this antenna into the package, because they are pretty useless. There are way better antennas on the market for race drones, so yeah, I don't know, but this is always with the VTX. There's a manual inside which shows you the different milliwatts you can get out of this one. You can see the frequency board and here the wiring, but you don't really use the manual. I will show you all the details, then you don't use this anymore. Then for sure the VTX itself, it looks like this, and that's the way I modified it. So just cut the top side of the shrink tube away and take off the sticker to keep it a little bit cooler. So if you compare the two VTX from the outside, this one is the 526, this one is the 801. From this side you can see that the position of the RPSMA connector is not the same. What's also important is that these are always RPSMA connector. You can't get these Eachine Vtx with SMA connector, so watch this if you want to put on your antenna. If you have an SMA antenna, you cannot connect it. You need RPSMA antennas to put it on these VTX. Position is changed on the 526. It was center position, and here we have side position, but it doesn't really make a big difference where these sit. On the other side, you can see they are pretty similar. One thing is different, that on the 801 you have a built-in microphone, so if you want to fly with audio, you have the possibility to get audio directly from the microphone of your VTX. The 526 don't have a microphone. Then another change, in my opinion, a very important change, is the connector system. As you can see, these are not the same systems. So on the 526 you have a connection which doesn't hold that good. So if you connect it, it works, but you can pretty easily take it off. So in case of a crash, it's possible to disconnect your VTX, and so you lose your picture, and perhaps it's more difficult to find your drone without seeing the picture on the goggles where your drone sits. On the new one, on the 801, you have another connector like you know it from the TBS VTX, for example, and they come with a clip system which keeps the plug perfectly in position, so you can pull as strong as you want. The plug stays where it is, so no chance to disconnect it in case of a crash. And another thing are the cables themselves. So on the old one, on the 526, you have cheap plastic isolated cables which are pretty stiff, and these are really bad cheap cables which are not easy to use in a race drone. And on the 801, Eachine finally changed to silicon wires, which are super flexible, and this makes it way easier to install all the stuff in your drone. And also the cables will live longer with no breaks in the cable, because they are pretty soft and keep the shape you want them to have. Another improvement of the TX801 is that you have way more channels. It's a 72 channel VTX in comparison to 40 channels on the 526. So you have 8 bands with 8 channels each, and on the 526 you have 5 bands with 8 channels. These 5 bands are okay, these are enough, but it's never a bad thing to have more channels which you can use. Another very important change or improvement is that you have more selectable milliwatts powers. Perhaps you can see it here. On the old one there were only 3 settings. It was 25 milliwatts, it was 200 and 600 milliwatts. With the new one, with the 801, you have pit mode with 0.01 milliwatts, then you have 5, 25, 50, 100, 200, 400 and 600 milliwatts. So it gives you more possibilities to set the power you need for your spot. And for racing and pit mode, you can turn on the VTX and do some settings during the races going on with other pilots. and you have no issues at all with drones which are racing at the moment if you turn on your VTX in pit mode. Then let's have a short look at the programming. You have this single button. All you have to program, you can do it with one single button, and you can see the display which shows you the channel, the band, and your milliwatts. So now let's wait here. Number 1 is the channel, then band, then the blinking number is the power you have. You have the blinking, you have 1 to 8, so from 0.01 milliwatt up to 600 milliwatts, and then channel which is not blinking, also 1, and A shows you the band. So if I do short press, I can change immediately my channel up to channel 8, goes back to 1 and up again like this. Just push it like until you have the channel you want to have. So perhaps let's take channel 2, then just wait until the cycle begins again. So here we are. This is now pit mode with number 1 blinking, then we have channel 2 and band 8, and if I want to change band, I just have to push the button until it shows band. So let's push it and wait. Here we are with band. Band is blinking. Now I can change B, E, F, all the bands through. And now perhaps let's take band F. Now let's wait again until the cycle comes up. Now we are on channel 2 on band F and still on pit mode. And if I want to change the milliwatts, so I have to press even longer and I have to wait until milliwatts are flashing now. Now I can change 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, back to 1 or 2. Now let's go to 3. 3 is 25 milliwatts. Now let's wait. Now we have channel 2, band F, and 25 milliwatts. And that's all. Like this you can change all the settings. It's super simple, no manual used. Finally, I'm gonna show you some footage of these VTX. This is just one footage because in my opinion they deliver the exactly same picture. So it is way more important to power the VTX and your FPV cam the right way. Use some filters. They have no filters built in these VTXs, so in comparison to a TBS or an immersion RC VTX, you really need to use some filters or a PEC which cleans your power, and like this you have really good picture and good range, but really important to get a good clean picture to filter your power to the VTX and also to the FPV cam. And as I already said, don't take the power from your VTX to your FPV cam. Take separate power wires from different PECs and then you're fine with your FPV picture. So that's all for today. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, happy flying. Bye bye.